Hey everybody, how's it going? Going to start our daily review. We had a lot of callouts. There's a lot to go over, so hang in tight. Buckle your seatbelts. Okay. First one is I'm going to go over SPY because we always go over SPY first. Is I'm going to look at this. We were looking at a break and hold over 445.3 for calls, and if you've watched some of these videos before, you'll see that oftentimes I like to do Fibonacci retracements. And typically when I do that, I do a pre-market low to the high a day. At this point in time, the high a day was right here. And obviously that's a bit too far away for us to manage this. But what you can also use fib retracements for is big impulsive moves. When we have big impulsive moves that result in a fair value gap being shown there, it can show you where in that fair value gap you might be looking to take some entries, and this was perfect for that. Here's our fair value gap from this high here to this candle low. You can see that we're hitting the top of that fair value gap a couple times here, and it could have just taken off. We were having a hard time making higher highs, but the team entered over here as this candle closed back above VWAP, back above the EMAs, and when this was retesting, I'm just going to go ahead and describe what we've got here. We've got falling volume to the upside. It looks like buyers might have gassed themselves out here, right? But then when sellers start to take control, you can see that volume's staying low. And when the volume's increasing, it ends in this really bullish pin bar hammer here. And if you come and take a look at your lower time frames, you'll see on the 2 minute that this candle has the most volume in the movement down, and it has this massive wick on it. And then we get a low volume push back to our 50% retracement level, and then you get a little bit higher volume, but we engulf the previous candle. We have a nice higher time frame confluence with the 5 minute giving you this beautiful looking candle here, and then you're off to the races. That's where we entered. That's where we entered on live voice, and it was called out in the alerts channel as well. If you were just looking on text, we got our first trims here at high a day. That's our 2-to-1. And then you get your next trims here. We got our next trims here at 446.5. We got our last trims here at 447. And when this candle kind of was massive, that's where we all everyone was pretty much out at that point. There might have been some people that were holding runners, and maybe they were able to squeeze a little bit more juice out of that. But we got that whole move, and it was beautiful. It went over 100%. I'm going to go ahead and move on to Tesla. Tesla was another one that was called out in live voice. This isn't one that I was a part of, but Steven called this out right before market open, and he entered this one pretty quickly. He was looking for a break and hold over 252.30, and let's 252.30 is all the way up here. However, we were holding pre-market lows. We were continuously making these higher lows here. As you can see in pre-market, it was trying to break below VWAP, but was failing to do so. And we see all of the volume coming in here, reclaiming pre-market high. That's where he got long. Contracts went from like $2 to $6. It was a beautiful trade. Let's go on to Meta. Didn't really produce for us today, but let's look at Apple. This was another one that we called out today, and I'm going to go over this here. So in my alerts channel, I called hold over 178 for calls to at least 179, which is pre-market high. The second target would be this 181 gap fill. If you can see that 181 gap fill is right here. Wow, I don't know why that happened. But we broke above pre-market high like pretty much immediately. I'm not one to take opening print calls, so I did not take it here. But really beautiful move. If you were looking for this fair value gap here, we had one between this candle and this candle right here. You get a nice little fair value gap. You also have a pretty nice Fibonacci retracement if you're using the impulsive move here. We did not end up using the middle of this fair value gap, and that might be better served using that pre-market low strategy that I was talking about. Almost, not quite. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. But when we had this big move up here, you can kind of see on the higher time frame that we have some falling volume to the downside here. This candle was a little bit risky, but we were right on our 61.8 retracement. You see us hit pre-market high. You have that fair value gap right there. You have the 61.8 right there. So I decided to go ahead and take a piece of this. This was a pretty nice move on Apple contracts. This was easily 60, 70 cents on the contracts. And if you didn't get stopped out here on break even, it went even higher. Ultimately, I think that the better move was probably still the fair value gap move. If you're using the 70.7, you could probably get away with that there. I do like that. So we have increasing volume on the way down here, and that does look scary. But you can see once volume gets to the highest point, it's got a bullish reversal, and then it has another bullish reversal right here, and another really nice reversal sign here. Getting your 2-minute buy confirmation right below pre-market high. If you want, you can wait until after we get above, but then your risk is higher, and then you also have less room to the EMAs. Personally, I would like to get in probably right here. If it rejects off of pre-market high, then we can maybe get out earlier. We can have a more conservative or a tighter stop loss, or it's going to move and give us the move that we want. We get nice trims here, get the next trim here at the VWAP, and the next trims would be targeting this resistance, the next one's being near high a day, which is what happens. This was a really great move, but we were all done because we got two over 100% moves on Tesla, on SPY, and then a pretty nice move as well on Apple. So we called it a day early. And I think that that's pretty much everything that we need to go over. We did call out Meta breaking over 301 as well, but we didn't get the retest that we wanted at the top. And that was Meta. And then what else was called? Yep, that was it. SPY, Meta, Tesla, Apple, and the Qs. Sorry, the Qs. Always forget the Qs. I never forget the Qs. This is actually the first time I've ever forgotten the Qs. So on my alert channel, I was calling out that I wanted to see a high risk. Well, there was a high risk reject here at 372.50, and I said that it was a good candidate for a break and retest as well. And we do get a really nice break and retest. This is that pre-market low. This is that current high a day. And that is exactly where the 61.8% retracement ended up being. Did have a level here near that reject, which was a different fib retracement. But when we're coming down here, the shorter time frame shows lots of volume coming down. You got equal volume here. This is a lot of buyers stepping in and stopping this move to the downside. Personally, it's a little bit risky because you've got increasing volume down here, and you've got a lot of momentum in this candle, but it also could be exhaustion. And that's kind of what we have here. So we have people exhausting themselves, and then you get a nice little higher low here, which I think is probably the better entry. If you're one to be okay with the risk, you can enter here as we close bullish or as we pass the level again. But you might get stopped out at break even here if you decide to move your stops up after we hit the 2-minute EMAs, but you've got a lot of room to your 5-minute EMAs here. You've also got pretty decent room to these highs to give you your first trim, and then VWAP, and then you would probably be targeting some sort of near resistance like this here or high a day. You do get a really nice movement up to this side. You could probably go ahead and stop out once we start to see reversal signals here. And that's also a beautiful trade. But again, we were done by that time. Hope you guys had a good one. Hope you all had an amazing day, and I will talk to you guys on Monday.